70th anniversary of the signing of the United Nations Charter, celebrating here in San Francisco, as well as the United Religions Initiative, and big to-dos at City Hall and at Grace Cathedral. So Sally and Victor have been talking about in 88 nations, 80 some odd nations, people who have come together through a purpose statement that was really begun here by the then Bishop of California, Bishop Bill Swing, and has caught on, and they've been working to get people to trust and love each other in an agreed purpose statement. Before we go back to that, Sally, who are you? Why did you get involved in this? Where did you grow up? How did you get here?
Lots of good stories. Well, I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and my first job was a teacher. I taught civics and democracy.
Where? I'm from Alton, so I just...
Oh, St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the St. Louis Public Schools for about 5 years before I went to graduate school. And there was a life direction that's set there, which is look inside these children. What do they really need to learn about democracy? They don't. What's really more important than how a bill becomes a law, it's how they can have an impact with it, who they are to step up and make changes. And interestingly, I felt that had a spiritual quality. I felt there was something bigger than just ourselves as we move into that role. And lo and behold, as I went through my path of seminary training and looking into really what the spiritual potential is to draw out of people, I ran into Bishop Bill Swing and this crazy idea called, let's just do something impossible. And that touched me, and I said, sign me up. So I've been involved in, again, this design that invites, engages people to step up and see the need, bring their religious values together and make change. It's more than just getting along. It's making positive change in their community.
Now you're seminary educated, but not a priest.
That's right.
And you got to San Francisco, what years are we talking
about? I came in '88, again from New York City with my family, yeah, at that time, and moved and actually was employed at Grace Cathedral for a few years.
And you've been involved in URI for how long?
Almost 20 years, 1996, actually 95, I was a volunteer.
You've got a big title here, Director of Global
Whatever, it's organizational development.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you, you list in your vitae that your appreciative inquiry methodology. What's that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Really, URI is built with this amazing methodology philosophy. We did not invent it. It's out there in the world, called appreciative inquiry. But it means that if you have problems, you don't focus on them to make a change. You focus on what you have, the values, the most profound experiences, positive experiences and values in people's lives. Assets. You draw that forward, and then you ask them to dream and to vision. URI didn't get to be itself because a few people thought of the idea. It's because many people said, I think I envision a way thousands can work together, just like stars in the cosmos shine on each other.
And we're gonna do that. Sally's going to lead us in an appreciative inquiry on the 27th at Grace Cathedral, so people can
accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative.
Absolutely.
Victor, how about yourself? How'd you get here?
So I've been at URI for a year and a half. I'm the new executive director, and I have been blessed to be in this role, but I've been the dean at Wellesley College for 20 years, Dean of Religious Life and Intercultural Education, and before that was a community organizer in the South Bronx and in Boston. So my work has been about social change. But I met Bill Swing in 1982 when I came out to San Francisco after college, and he was just kind of thinking about this possibility. At that point, and early on in the work, he was thinking he'd go around the world and talk to all the great religious leaders and ask them to become part of this movement, and he did. And to a person, almost everyone said no. You have to be crazy. There's no way we're going to join this movement. So Bill then turned it on its head, and he said, if we're not able to work with the religious leaders, let's work with ordinary folk. So URI, which now I'm so happy to be a part of, works with primarily ordinary people in communities, building bridges of connection, building strong coalitions.
Okay, how can I get involved? How can I get involved?
There you go. So we have people who are part of URI by joining cooperation circles. There are San Francisco area, there are many cooperation circles that people can become part of, doing all kinds of humanitarian efforts, improving their communities, hosting interfaith dialogue, peace building kinds of things. And people can become involved in the work globally by becoming part of URI, becoming a member of URI, which means you join this global family, doing this extraordinary peace-building, bridge-building.
So if I want to do something, and I'm living in Santa Clara or someplace, and I want to get to know Muslim or Buddhist neighbors and so on, I can just say, hey, I'd like to be part of this, and you get in and you start talking with people.
We'll connect you up to...
Basically, we're connectors. We are networkers.
So if the answer is red grocery bags, okay, you take that idea there and you talk with people. Okay,
that's right.
we'll come back to that, but you skipped over some stuff there.
Did.
You skipped. Okay, so you were at Wellesley, but were you also a Fulbright?
I was. I taught in India. I spent a lot of my life actually working in India and in the United States in very grassroots organizing, anti-poverty work, digging into the issues that are the underlying causes of poverty.
And also then from the Bronx, how long did you spend
South Bronx. I was in the Bronx about a year and a half as a community organizer, doing working with gangs and doing after-school programs with children.
And you grew up where?
I grew up in Boston. I grew up in an Armenian family, and I actually grew up in the shadow of two grandfathers, an Armenian grandfather and a grandfather who was president at BU in Boston University, working with Dr. King and Rabbi Heschel. So I grew up in an interfaith world where these extraordinary leaders who had a global vision were part of my life.
And that leads to your Vita, you say you're a thought leader. You're a thought leader.
That's what they say.
What is that?
I love to bring people together. I believe that the truth that we seek lives between us, that no one of us has the truth, and certainly not I. And so my work has been to bring people together in dialogue and conversation so we can discover the way ahead together, not impose our own views on others, but to work with others to create something that we couldn't come up with by ourselves.
United Religions Initiative. So Bill Swing had the idea, and bishops tend to go to bishops, and got not much response.
That's
so
right.
he says, turn it on its head. Let's start with people in the neighborhood, with all faiths come together, and the two of you do that by being a thought leader and appreciative inquiry methodology, which means getting people together.
Exactly.
We'll be back in just a minute. Stay with us.
That's great.
Okay.